One day you wake up and realize you are alone. Not because no one loves you, not because you've done something wrong, but simply because life changed. It's something they don't teach you to expect. You grow up surrounded by people, by family, by friends, by noise. Then, little by little, houses empty, calendars cool off, and days stretch out. And one day, without realizing it, silence becomes your most constant companion. Loneliness, when it arrives, can hurt. I won't deny it. It can feel like an invisible weight, like a wistfulness that settles into every corner of the house. But I want you to hear this clearly. Loneliness doesn't have to be a sentence. It doesn't have to be the beginning of the end. It can be, if you choose, the start of something far greater. Today I want to talk to you about that. How to turn loneliness into fertile ground. How to perform small daily acts that not only push away pain, but fill your life with meaning, joy, and energy. No matter your age, no matter how alone you feel now, there are paths still to walk, parts of you still able to bloom. In this video, I'm going to share simple habits, daily actions that can help you maintain your happiness, your emotional vitality, and that vital connection with yourself and the world around you. You don't need grand changes or impossible promises, just small gestures, day after day, that build a life suffused with purpose, even when it seems as if the world has grown quieter. So stay with me until the end. Perhaps today you'll discover not only how to survive loneliness, but how to embrace it, how to make it your ally. And before we continue, I'd love to know something about you. From which country are you watching? And how old are you? Leave it in the comments. I'd love to read and learn a bit more about you. Loneliness isn't always what we think. There are two kinds of loneliness it's important to understand. First, there's physical loneliness. It's the one we all imagine when we think of being alone. Not having someone sitting next to you, not hearing laughter in the house, not sharing a cup of coffee in the morning. It's the loneliness of empty space, of chairs unoccupied at the table. Then there's emotional loneliness. This is much deeper. You can be surrounded by people, at a gathering, in the market, on a walk, and still feel alone. It's the sense of having nowhere to open your heart, of not feeling truly seen or understood. It's the echo of your own voice resonating within you without finding a response. Physical loneliness can be seen. Emotional loneliness, not always. And it's this second kind that can truly wear us down if we don't learn to face it head on. Now, I want to tell you something I believe is very important. Many think that being alone in old age is some kind of failure, as if it were a mistake, as if it meant we didn't do things right. But that isn't true. You're not alone because you failed. You're not alone because you weren't enough. You're alone because life changes, because children grow up, because friends move away or pass on, because times change. It's part of life's natural cycle. And understanding that, embracing it without guilt, is the first step toward finding peace. Let me share a story I heard recently. Mary was 78 years old when her husband passed away. They'd been together almost their entire lives. Their children lived far away, and though they called often, they couldn't be with her every day. At first, the house felt enormous, empty, intimidating. Every corner overflowed with memories that tightened around her chest. For months, Mary thought her life was over. She'd get up late, listless, letting days slip by staring out the window. She felt loneliness envelop her like a thick fog. But one day, something changed. It wasn't a great moment of revelation. It was something small. She went out to buy bread and decided to walk one more block. Just one block. She saw a garden full of flowers and remembered how much she loved gardening. The next day, she bought a planter, then another, and another. Before she knew it, her house began to fill with green, with life. And little by little, so did her heart. Mary didn't fill her house with people. Her husband didn't come back beside her. But she did fill it with meaning, with beauty, with purpose. She learned that being alone wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning of a new chapter. Just like Mary, you too can discover a strength you may not have known you possessed. Loneliness, if we look at it with different eyes, can be an invitation to rediscover ourselves, not to live in emptiness, but to build something new, something authentic. And that will be our journey today. To understand that loneliness isn't an enemy, but a teacher, and that every day can be an opportunity to strengthen your spirit, reconnect with yourself, and find joy in the simplest things. Do you know one of the most critical moments when you live alone? Mornings. That first moment of the day, when you open your eyes and everything is quiet, can determine whether you have a day full of life, or a day that simply passes without purpose. That's why the first habit I want to propose is this: create a meaningful routine each morning. It may sound simple, even unnecessary if you have no appointments, no work, no one waiting for you. But it isn't about fulfilling obligations. It's about honoring your own time, giving value to each new dawn. The routine doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need strict schedules or endless task lists. You just need structure with purpose. Let me suggest a few simple yet powerful ideas. First, a short walk. As soon as you wake up, even if it's just pacing your yard, or going to the end of the block, or walking through your own home if you can't go outside. Feeling movement in your legs, the air on your face, the world waking up alongside you. That small gesture activates your body, awakens your mind, and sends a clear message to your heart. I'm here. I'm alive. This day matters. Second, prepare a special breakfast. Not just any breakfast, not something rushed or soulless. Take the time to make something you truly enjoy. A piece of perfectly toasted bread, a steaming cup of coffee, a fresh piece of fruit cut with care. It doesn't matter how simple it is. What matters is doing it with love. Sit at the table, breathe deeply, and give thanks for that moment. Eat not only to fuel your body, but also to nourish your soul. Third, write a short journal entry. You don't need to be a writer. You don't need anyone to ever read it. Just take a notebook and write a few lines. How do you feel today? What would you like to experience? What good memories come to mind this morning? Putting your thoughts into words helps organize your heart, releasing what weighs you down and appreciating what you have. With just these 3 small gestures, I assure you your day will start differently. You don't get up simply because you can't sleep anymore. You don't drag yourself through the day just waiting for time to pass. You get up for yourself. Small rituals, repeated each morning, build deep meaning. They're like seeds you plant within yourself, and over time, those seeds blossom into strength, resilience, and a joy for living. Because happiness doesn't always come from grand events. Often it comes from honoring the small moments that seem invisible, but which together form the very fabric of life. So tomorrow, when you open your eyes, ask yourself, what small ritual can I gift myself today? And I'd love to know, do you already have a morning routine that makes you feel good? Leave it in the comments. I'll see you there. There's something we should never stop doing, no matter how many years we've lived. Creating. Creating something with our hands, our minds, our hearts. That's why the third habit I want to share today is precisely that. Create something every day. I'm not talking about becoming a famous artist or producing masterpieces. It's not about perfection. It's about movement, curiosity, keeping that spark within us alive. Creating can be as simple as cooking a new recipe, tending your plants, jotting down a few lines in a notebook, painting a picture, knitting a scarf, or making a craft to decorate your home. Daily creation not only keeps our hands nimble, but also our spirit awake. When you create, something magical happens inside you. You stop being a spectator of the world and become its protagonist again. You don't wait for something to happen. You make it happen. Let me tell you about Lucy, a woman I met a few years ago. Lucy was widowed at 72 years of age. For months, sadness and emptiness enveloped her. She felt invisible, lost. Until one day, her granddaughter gave her a small watercolor set. At first, Lucy thought, what do I need this for? I've never known how to paint." But her granddaughter insisted, "You don't have to know. Just try." And so she did. One day she painted a flower, another day a tree, another day a little house under the sun. Her hands trembled at first, but it didn't matter, because as her brush moved, so did her heart. She began to awaken something dormant, something she thought she'd lost, the joy of doing something new, of expressing herself, of being herself. Today, at 84 years of age, Lucy has an entire wall covered with her watercolors. They're not perfect. They don't need to be. Each one tells a story. Each one is proof that it's never too late to start something new. So it doesn't matter if you believe you can't paint, write, or cook. It doesn't matter if you think you have no talent. Creating is a right we hold until our very last days. And more than that, creating is a profound need of the soul. Will you give it a try? It can be something very small, a different recipe, a new plant to tend, a handwritten letter to a friend, a scarf knitted in your favorite colors. It's not what you do, it's what you awaken in yourself when you do it. Tomorrow, when you have a free moment, ask yourself, what can I create today that will make me smile, even if only a little? And if you already have a creative activity you enjoy, I'd love for you to share it in the comments. What is it that makes you feel alive when you do it? Now let's move on to the fourth daily habit, one we sometimes forget, but that is essential: taking care of our body. I know it may sound obvious, but believe me, as the years pass, it's easy to fall into the trap of ceasing to move. We think, I'm tired, I don't have the energy I used to, why bother? And without realizing it, the body begins to shut down, little by little. But here's the truth many don't tell you. The more you move, the more life you give to your mind, your mood, and your very heart. I'm not talking about going to a gym or doing strenuous exercises. I'm talking about daily movement adapted to you, to your age, to your current situation. It could be a short walk around your neighborhood. It could be gentle stretches when you wake up. It could be a few bodyweight strength exercises, seated or standing. It could be dancing to a favorite song while making breakfast. The body was designed to move. When we move, blood flows better, muscles activate, joints stay flexible, and importantly, the brain receives more oxygen and nutrients. Did you know that walking just a few minutes a day can improve your memory, your mood, and even strengthen your immune system? A lively mind needs a moving body. Let me tell you about Mr. Ernest, a man of 86 years who every morning before breakfast spent 15 minutes doing gentle stretches in his living room. It wasn't complicated. Raising his arms, turning his neck, bending his knees gently, rotating his ankles. He told me, "I don't want to be a rigid oak that snaps. I want to be like bamboo, flexible, resilient, bending with the wind." And it was true. Mr. Ernest walked upright, smiled easily, and his mind was as sharp as a finely honed blade. Not because he had miraculous genetics, but because he chose to care for his body like tending a beloved plant. A bit of water, some sun, a bit of movement each day. Moving your body daily is sending yourself a powerful message. I'm still here. I still matter. I still can. And don't underestimate the emotional impact. When we finish a walk, even a small one, we feel a quiet pride, a renewed energy. We look in the mirror and think, today, I chose life. So tomorrow, upon waking, before turning on the television or diving into your routines, ask yourself, what loving movement can I give my body today? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be consistent. Because in the end, it isn't about how much you move. It's about continuing to move toward life. Now for the fifth daily habit, one that may seem small, but has an enormous impact on our happiness. Learn something new each day. When we are young, learning is an obligation. Studying, working, training. But when we are older, Learning becomes a gift we can give ourselves each morning. And no, I'm not talking about pursuing a university degree or reading complex books. I'm talking about keeping alive that spark of curiosity we all carry inside. Because a mind that continues learning is a mind that stays awake, interested, connected to the world. Did you know that learning something new releases dopamine in the brain? Dopamine is that natural chemical that gives us feelings of pleasure, motivation, and joy. That's why when you discover a new word, understand a concept, or even learn a new recipe, your brain feels happy. And without realizing it, you become stronger against sadness, against despair, against that shadow of loneliness that sometimes creeps in. How to begin? Very simple. Read a short article on a topic that's always interested you: history, health, technology, gardening. Watch a brief documentary. Today on the internet, there are thousands of them, free, on the most varied topics. Learn a new word each day and practice it in conversation. Listen to a podcast while you walk or rest. There are shows on every subject: motivation, science, art, humor, personal growth. I know Mrs. Martha, a woman of 78 years, who each night before bed watches a short educational video on her phone. Sometimes it's about astronomy, other times about cooking, others about history. She says it has returned to her the thrill of always having something new to share when she talks with her family or her friends. Learning, she once told me, is like opening a window in your mind, and every open window lets more light in. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you think you've learned enough. As long as you keep learning, you keep growing. And where there is growth, there is life. Where there is life, there is hope. So tomorrow, as you begin your day, ask yourself, what tiny thing can I learn today? A recipe, a word, a story, a curious fact. Because learning isn't about being wiser than others. It's about reminding yourself that the world still holds wonders to offer you, and that you still have the desire to discover them. It's never too late to be a lifelong learner. Now let us move on to the 6th daily habit, and it is one of the most beautiful. Reconnect with something you once loved. Over time, we often set aside things that once filled our soul. Perhaps it was the music you listened to when you were young. Perhaps it was that hobby that made you lose all sense of time. Painting, dancing, sewing, building models, playing an instrument, tending a garden. Life led us down paths where responsibilities were many and time for enjoyment was scarce. But now, since you have the opportunity, it is time to recover those little passions. Emotional memory is a powerful tool. When you hear that song that accompanied you through special moments, your brain not only remembers, it relives. When you leaf through a photo album and see your smile on a sunny afternoon, you do more than see the past. Your body and your heart feel that same joy again, even if only for a few minutes. And that is a silent medicine against loneliness. Each time you return to a happy memory, each time you revive a forgotten passion, you remind your heart that it still knows how to beat with enthusiasm, that it can still fill itself with love and gratitude. I know Mr. Ernest, who is 82 years old and who for decades did not touch his guitar. One day, while cleaning his closet, he found it tucked inside its old case. The strings were rusty, the wood dusty, but he decided to tune it. At first his fingers trembled and he struggled to recall the chords, but little by little, as if reuniting with an old friend, music returned to his life. Today, Mr. Ernest does not play for an audience, nor does he record albums. He plays in his living room, for himself. And when he closes his eyes and strums the strings, his face lights up just as it did when he was 20. Happiness is not always found in seeking something new. Often it lies in remembering what once made you happy and giving yourself permission to feel it again. Think for a moment. What was it that you loved doing and left behind along the way? What melody, what scent, what image could bring you a spark of joy? It is not too late. It is never too late to dance again to your favorite song in your living room. It is never too late to plant flowers as you once did with your grandparents. It is never too late to sit before a blank canvas and let your hands speak. Reconnecting with what you love is a way of reminding yourself who you are. It is telling life, I am still here, I still feel, I am still me. So today, I invite you to find that song, that photo, that forgotten hobby. Give yourself that reunion. I promise your heart will thank you. Now we arrive at the 7th daily habit, perhaps one of the most powerful of all. Give something of yourself. When we speak of loneliness, we often think only of receiving, of hoping for visits, seeking company, filling voids. But there is an even greater force for transforming loneliness: giving. Volunteering for a local cause, helping a neighbor in need, cooking a homemade meal to surprise someone. These small gestures not only help another, but they work a kind of miracle in the giver. Because giving reminds us that we are still needed, that our life still has purpose, that our hands, our words, our time can still make a difference in the world. You do not need grand gestures. You do not need to belong to a formal organization. Sometimes the most valuable thing is simply calling someone you know is going through a hard time, or tending a friend's plants when they are away, or knitting a scarf to give away in winter. Giving a little of yourself is like sowing seeds of affection, and each seed you plant, sooner or later, blossoms in your own heart. Let me tell you the story of Mrs. Amelia. She is 78 years old, and a few years ago, after losing her husband, she felt plunged into deep sadness. Her home was silent, and the days seemed endless. Until one day, without much thought, she baked a sweet loaf of bread and brought it to a neighbor who was ill. That grateful smile she received was like a ray of light in her heart, and she decided to do it again and again. Today, Mrs. Amelia bakes little treats each week and shares them with her neighbors, especially those who live alone. What began as a simple gesture turned into her new mission, and because of that, her life filled once more with purpose, affection, and meaning. Giving something of yourself each day not only changes another person's day, it changes your entire life. Because as you give love, you receive hope. As you help, you rebuild yourself. As you sow smiles, you reap strength. So today ask yourself, what small gift of yourself can you offer the world, no matter how simple it may be? What matters is that it comes from your heart. And believe me, loneliness does not last long when you decide to be light for others. We have reached the end of this journey together, and I want you to carry one clear idea with you. Loneliness may visit us, but it does not have to stay. Each day, with small gestures, you can build a refuge within yourself. A refuge filled with routine, movement, creation, learning, beautiful memories, generosity. A refuge where life still holds color, music, and above all, meaning. Today I have shared 7 simple habits that can transform not only your day, but your heart. Create a meaningful routine. Nourish your relationships. Create something with your hands. Care for your body. Learn something new. Reconnect with what you love. And give something of yourself. You do not need to do them all at once. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to begin with one small step today. Because loneliness, when faced with self-love, transforms. No longer is it emptiness, it becomes space. No longer is it sadness, it becomes peace. Remember, you remain important. Your story remains valuable. Your presence remains a gift to this world. Before I say goodbye, I have a very special invitation. Tell me in the comments, which of these habits would you like to begin practicing as soon as tomorrow? Or is there another habit you already follow that helps you feel better? And I'd also love to know, from where are you watching? How old are you? Reading your answers not only fills me with joy, but creates this little community where no one has to feel alone.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for giving yourself this time. And always remember, life, even in silence, remains a wonderful gift. I'll see you in the next video.